The Angelo Mathews timed out dismissal that took place against Bangladesh is something that has firmly divided the cricketing world and elicited strong reactions from what can largely be categorized as two sides of a debate. On one hand, you have those who say, no, listen, shouldn't have been done at all, bad for the spirit of cricket, bad for the game. On the other hand, you have people saying, look, it was well within the rules, and despite the fact that Mathews' helmet strap broke, he was on pretty thin ice as far as time was concerned anyway, and so Shakib Al Hasan, the Bangladesh captain, was well within his rights to do so. Now, the truth is that the debate will rage on regardless of what it is anyone, especially those in a position of authority, say. But it is interesting to note that the MCC, the Marylebone Cricket Club, the custodians of the game, and the lawmakers, the ones who have made and amended the laws of the sport for centuries, have now finally put out a lengthy statement on what they felt was an issue that was contentious enough to actually speak about, because it once again invoked that rather familiar debate about the spirit of cricket versus the rules of the game. And what they have broadly done in this lengthy statement, and believe you me when I say it's lengthy, we're not going to go over the entirety of it because that would take us some time, but we picked out some interesting parts of that statement and we'll discuss those in a little bit of detail. And let's just put it this way, the short version of it is that they have totally endorsed how it is that the umpires reacted in that situation and laid the blame for the dismissal squarely on the feet of Angelo Mathews, and in no way, shape or form have they said that whatever it is that Shakib Al Hasan did was in any way wrong. First off, this is one of the key parts where they say, and it's mentioned here, the key part of the law is that the batter must be ready to receive the ball. Being on the field or even at the wicket is not enough to avoid being timed out. Now, this part here is very key because it says very clearly that the batter must be ready to receive the ball. That means must be fully kitted out, must be in a position whereby the bowler starts taking his run up. It's not enough that you are at the field or at the wicket. So if you reach the field in say about a minute, but you take more than a minute to get your equipment on and to get in a position where you're ready to face a delivery, you're still at the risk of being timed out. Therefore, that eliminates one major argument that people were making, saying that, oh, Mathews was on the field before 2 minutes anyway, but it doesn't matter if he was on the field before 2 minutes. Was he ready to face a ball before those 2 minutes elapsed? And the answer quite simply is no. So that's one interesting part. The other part, and this is something that we had talked about, was concerning the equipment damage taking place, and this is where I've included a rather lengthy passage, but it's well worth your time because it says that had the umpires been informed of a significant justifiable equipment related delay within the 2 minute allowance, they could have treated it as a new type of delay, even calling time, allowing a resolution of that delay without the batter being at risk of being timed out. Long story short is that if Mathews had informed the umpires that, look, I was putting my helmet on and I was here, but it ended up breaking, the umpires then could have just treated that as a separate incident or called time and said, you know what, at this point he's not going to be timed out because we're calling time. It's a legitimate issue. The key is that Mathews did not in fact inform the umpire. Once his helmet strap broke, the first thing he did was signal to the dugout for a new helmet. He didn't tell the umpires, and that is why, and we've done a video on this as General Sports Today, Chris Wokes had actually done a similar thing during the England game against the Netherlands, whereby he actually went and told the umpire that, listen, this equipment is faulty. So, that's the key. You need to notify the umpire, and that is exactly what Angelo Mathews did not do. And it very damningly indicts Mathews in another bit of the statement when it says, when the helmet broke, it appears that Mathews did not consult with the umpires, which a player would be expected to do when seeking new equipment. And this part is correct. If a player needs to change any part of his gear, whether it be his gloves, his bat, his pads, even his shoes, you will consult with the umpire to ensure or let them know that, listen, I'm making this change to my gear, and if it's okay, just ask the other bowlers, the opposition team's bowlers, to not actually bowl right now, to just bring a bit of a halt in play because it's a safety concern. My glove isn't there's a part of it which is torn, which is a problem. My pad's not functioning properly, my pad is not being good enough. You need to inform the umpire. Mathews, as it says, it appears that he did not consult with the umpire, which means that at that point the clock was still very much ticking. It would be a similar situation to, like, say in a game of basketball, the clock is ticking, but if the ball goes out of play, the clock stops. This would be, if Mathews had informed the umpire, then his clock would have also in a way stopped and he would not have been at the risk of that timeout, but he didn't, and that's why he was at risk. But again, given this, there's far more to talk about, and again, a bit lengthy here, but it states very clearly that given that time had not been called and that at the time of the appeal more than 2 minutes had elapsed, the umpires correctly gave Mathews out. In fact, there was no other action for the umpires to take within the laws of cricket. That first line is very, very important, but as is the second, because that first line says that, look, time had not been called, so by the time Shakib did actually end up appealing, more than 2 minutes had passed, so he was well within his rights. And that second part, in fact, there was no other action for the umpires to take within the laws of cricket. The umpires actually got things spot on as far as the laws were concerned. You can say that yes, they could have chosen not to uphold the appeal, but that's not really allowed within the rules. They could have told Shakib that no, your appeal is not valid, given that you could see very clearly that he had a malfunction with his equipment, but Mathews had not informed the umpires of it. So keeping all that in mind, the umpires actually did the right thing when they upheld that appeal and then ruled him out, because as the MCC, the people who have written these laws themselves, I may add, say, in fact, there was no other action for the umpires to take within the laws of cricket. So that was the only decision they could have taken. The only decision they could have taken was ruling him out, and that is exactly what happened. And last but not the least, a lot of these, this controversy has evoked a lot of talk around the spirit of the game, or the spirit of cricket as it is known. And the MCC had a rather interesting suggestion in that regard as well, or rather interesting observation, let's say. They said that at the spirit of cricket's cores are the value of respect and fair play, yet its application is interpretive, as issues considered to be totally reasonable in the eyes of some may be deemed unacceptable to others. So what the MCC has basically said is, listen, spirit of cricket is great, but when it comes to matters of spirit of the game, it will more often than not be subjective. So what may seem acceptable to one party might not seem that acceptable to the other, and therefore, whilst the spirit of cricket is great, more often than not you should be playing by the rule books, which is exactly what happened in the case of Angelo Mathews and him being timed out. Was it within the spirit of the game per se? You could say perhaps not. Maybe Shakib could have been a little bit more considerate, but was it within the rules of the game? Absolutely it was, which is why he was ruled out, and that is exactly what the MCC has said. But what are your thoughts on what the MCC have said? You can let us know that in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe, tap that bell, excuse me, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Don't forget to download the AajTak app and check out our channel. There's many more videos that we've done, and there's plenty more coming your way as well. For now though, from my side, it's goodbye.